All right, we're back. And I think today we're going to talk a little damp proofing, waterproofing. And if that is that really important, Rich, to keep that keep your foundation damp proof or waterproof? And what the hell?
I would
What
say
the heck's
so.
the difference? Isn't
Well,
it the same
that's
thing?
the thing. So the difference between damp proofing is typically meant to keep the moisture from the ground soil from migrating into your concrete foundation or your block foundation, where waterproofing is meant to actually stop liquid water.
Okay.
So
The
pretty
stream.
big difference there. Liquid water, rainstorms and all that can saturate your foundation, leak through.
Okay.
Where just typical groundwater, damp proofing might just be enough.
Oh, just like the moisture that's in the ground evaporating through whatever it is that you're stopping
Exactly.
that.
So you get that musty smell in your basement.
Oh, sure.
That's just moisture migrating through the concrete. Simple thermodynamics. If your basement's dry, it's going to pull moisture from outside in. So,
Yep.
But when you get a rainstorm, now you have liquid water, which then any cracks, things like that, you're definitely going to end up having.
What did
water
Paul
in your
used to
basement.
say? Paul?
Huh?
Paul Peterson used to say, "Oh, a dry crack is a happy crack."
That's right. That's right. So typically your damp proofing, though, that's just an asphalt or bituminous
Okay.
spray on coating. You know, the black stuff. They just
Right.
spray that black stuff all over the outside.
It's tar. Spray tar.
Yeah, and if you spend a little more money, they'd throw some stranded fiberglass on there, like it was going to really help make it stronger.
Okay. And bond it
But
all
it
together.
didn't. It just made it more expensive.
Sure. Sure.
So
It helps a little bit.
yeah.
But
so and code requires any foundation that's meant for habitability.
Yep.
Anything there below grade, you are required to waterproof. So there are some things that you might want to do.
And again, waterproof generally meaning just to keep the moisture out, not necessarily.
That's right.
It's more of a damp proofing coating on there than a waterproofing coating.
Right.
So
like the roll-on stuff, and there's no shortage of products of roll-on waterproofing. So most of what I want to talk about, or we're going to talk about today, is literally waterproofing, not damp proofing. Damp proofing is a one-step thing. Just spray that black stuff on and pray it doesn't crack and you don't have a pile of water coming in.
Right.
But if you really want to make sure it's waterproof so that there's no concerns about water entering, there's some products we talk about as Elasto Shield from Surecrete. Latacrete makes Dry Tech moisture and vapor barrier. And down here, we use Tremco Trem Proof 250 GC. So it's a rapid curing polyurethane.
Okay.
It stays somewhat flexible. So if your foundation settles or you get a little cracking, it will bridge that. But it does do a great job. Not to mention it can be applied to damp or green concrete.
Right. And that's like that bed liner stuff, right? Same kind of principle.
It's actually very similar to like the bed liner stuff.
That thick rubbery stuff, and you can just spray it on. That's pretty cool.
And it can be spray applied if you prefer, but you know we usually typically just roll it.
Oh, really?
It's like anything; it takes longer to clean the damn gun out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The rollers, you just take the thing off, throw it away. But you know, if you've got a spray gun and hoses and all that, it's like, oh, forget it.
Right. Yeah. Well, but if you got a big enough job, then it's probably worthwhile to.
Oh, absolutely, speeds it up.
To come and spray it. So next up there is rubberized asphalt laminated to polystyrene film.
No, polyethylene.
Polyethylene. Okay.
Yeah. So visqueen.
Oh, plastic.
So you take a sheet of visqueen and you put rubberized asphalt on it, and then you throw some adhesive on the back.
Okay.
And you buy that in rolls, and you just stick it to the concrete.
Kind of like ice and water shield or something like that.
Exactly. It's similar to that.
Okay.
My concern with that, though, is the number of seams.
Sure. Because if you have a seam, it's still the same thing.
Yeah. I mean, you lap them, and it should stick to itself. And then once you put the dirt against it, it really should
stay there,
hold it there, and keep it watertight. But I just don't like seams. So one that we've used in the past, this Casella Dorkin makes a product called Delta MS. And it's a continuous sheet that you order at different heights. So I believe you can get it up to 9 feet tall.
Wow.
So if you're doing a 10-foot deep basement, you do this from the top of the footing up 9 feet, because that should be where grade would be.
Sure.
And what this is, it's a heavy gauge plastic, and it's dimpled, 1/4 inch dimples. What it does, it keeps it off the wall, so that when you backfill, you don't have a tight surface against the wall. So you've got a waterproof membrane,
Okay.
but if any water gets behind it, it will run right down to the footing because it cannot build hydraulic pressure.
Right. Right. And then it
So
goes
the trick
down.
with this stuff,
It goes down and
is
gets into the drain tile, and then it hits the sump
exactly.
pump, and it's gone. Okay.
So gets us to our drain tile, right? In order to do your drain tile properly, the drain tile should be outside your footing at the bottom of the foundation, covered in 12 inches of gravel. And if you put your membrane down into that gravel, any water that does happen to get behind it will run right down to the bottom to that drain tile and go right to your sump pit. You'll never have water in your basement. And that truly is the best way to do moisture management in your basement. But
Sure.
I'm going to tell you, that is mostly new construction.
Sure. Yeah.
You're in an older home,
You're not.
and I had the opportunity to do it once where we dug up the whole house and
Yep.
we put that on there, and that solved all our problems. But again, we were able to go around the house. We didn't have landscaping to worry about because there was none,
Uh-huh.
things like that. So if you can do it, it's definitely worth the expense because you'll never have to do anything with it again. And you're keeping the moisture from coming into the house. No water in, you don't have to deal with it.
Right. And, I know you were talking about drain tile on the outside. We run it on the inside of the footings too. Some municipalities around here require it. So we run it on the inside no matter what. Anyway, we tie all that into the sump pit so that way the drain tile inside and out, it's all gets pumped out and gets taken care of. And that also will help any groundwater that comes up from underneath the slab inside your basement. It's got somewhere to go then also, and it doesn't build up hydraulic pressure and try to push through the concrete.
And push through your slab. Exactly.
So that's another reason to put it on the inside too, just to make sure as an additional insurance. So
right. And then downspout drains, if you're going to do your downspouts, do not tie them into your drain tile.
That's what it's for,
on
right?
A heavy rain, you're just going to overload and drown your sump pump.
Right.
And when it fails or you have a power failure, you're just going to take all that water right into your basement. So you don't want to do that.
Right. It just dumps it all in there, and then you make a swimming pool in your basement. So you put all this great plastic and all this protection on the outside, and then you take your downspouts and just dump them in your basement, and hope the sump pump can keep up.
And it won't.
No, it won't.
Especially when the power goes out, and you'll be out there bailing.
Yeah, exactly. So you can check that out. So back up to what's that one, the dimpled product called again?
It's Delta MS, the manufacturer's Casella Dorkin.
Okay.
And they're a Canadian company, and they've been around for quite a while. They have quite a much bigger range, much larger range of products than they did years ago when I first found them. Mm-hmm. But it's a great product.
And that works. So talking about real quick, down in Florida where you're building on grade, you don't really have a basement. Are you still using these products then?
We actually waterproof the inside of our foundation wall.
Okay.
Basically down here, this slang term, it's called a stem wall.
Okay.
So you pour footing, you build a stem wall, and it's usually 3, 4, 5 courses of block tall. And then we fill that with sand, and then you do your plumbing and so on. And that way we get the first floor above flood.
Floodplain.
Yes.
Got it.
We have a base flood of 9 foot, so I want to build at 11.
Okay.
So we might have to build up. So what happens is before we infill that stem wall with sand to do our underground, we waterproof the inside of the foundation because not worried about water on the outside. What we're worried about is any moisture on the inside of that foundation and it causing efflorescence on the outside of that stem wall.
Because you guys put stucco on the outside.
Exactly. So if you don't waterproof the inside, and it doesn't mean it will happen because you shouldn't really have water in your slab. But, right? I mean, it's sand anyway.
Yeah.
Easy. It should just
drain straight through.
It happens, so that's why we do it.
Well, what happens if your tub leaks? Or a toilet leaks? You'll never know because it's all bare. It's all underground. Yeah,
it's all underground. Exactly.
So, I mean, it is feasible. You could have a pipe break and then that water's now draining through there, and it's just going to push all the stucco and everything off the outside of your house when you do it. So, it's a good idea it's a good idea to go ahead and do that. So, that takes care of our damp proofing and waterproofing, I believe, does it not, sir?
That's right. And if you have any questions about damp proofing, waterproofing, or any of the products, just send an email to rich@mightyhouse.net or ron@mightyhouse.net.
Rich at mightyhouse.net.
mightyhouse.net.
And you can check everything out on Patreon, patreon.com, and our YouTube channel. So make sure you hit the like button and click on the little bell so you get reminded every time we put something up. And we'll see you again soon.